When you find yourself in a situation where it seems like you're getting triggered, or the person you're with is trying to say the opposite to everything you say, or just disagree with everything, or there just seems a lot of conflict within the interaction, try and remember how the interaction started, because you'll probably find quite often it started with an ego perspective, a perspective coming from personality and from memory. And what that is doing is bringing a past emotion into the present moment. And if you start off an interaction that way, it'll continue that way with momentum. So if you start off making a statement or a question based on trying to protect your ego or personality, so whether it's something that confirms who you are as a person, or what you do for a living, or your opinion on the weather, or on anything that's going on, that's starting off in an ego perspective. And when you start that way, you're going to get back an ego perspective as a reflection. You can't blame the other person, especially even more so if they're not living intentionally, consciously. We all go in and out of consciousness all the time. But when you're faced with an ego straight away, before any other interaction, often your ego will kick in straight away to defend itself. It's just a subconscious programming. The way to not have the ego kick in straight away like this is to remind yourself that you're in the moment, you're in now. And every now moment is a different moment to a previous or a upcoming moment. And if you judge a person that you meet in a now moment by what you've known from them from the past, then all you will receive from them is the same personality and the same ego from the past. If you can just look at them as another person that's just walked into your present moment and just observe how they're acting and what they say, often you'll find that it appears like that person that you projected of them from the past has either subsided a little bit or disappeared. If this happens, then you can see for yourself that this is evidence of your own projections, of your own judgments, and your own concepts and labels of who that person is. So once you start to see this happen a few times, once you're aware of maybe playing with this a few times to clear your mind and interact with someone just like a stranger, where you have no preconceptions, most of the time those interactions go quite well because everybody's free. It's when you have people from the past, or not even from the past, but just people you've known or know, that come in to your now moment. Often either they or you bring past projections and memories, which create an atmosphere. And that atmosphere is just dragging a previous atmosphere along, rather than living in the one that exists now. So with them, you can try to have a more open mind and leave behind any conceptions and beliefs you have about them, and then do it the other way. Deliberately have those judgments and have those beliefs about them in a separate time that you meet up with them, and see how it goes each time in comparison. This will give you a gauge of your own conscious awareness, especially if you notice the contrast between the two different interactions. This will really emphasize and let you know that your awareness is growing and that you can turn it on and off. And then once you realize you can turn it on and off, why would you ever turn it off? It's just there. It just is. And then every interaction becomes a moment of now, and a moment of observing and wondering how this person is right now, not allowing any past projections to come and get in the way, as soon as those past projections come in, you're only going to get more of the same. So with that awareness, with knowing you've got that awareness, and trying to consciously entice that awareness to be present all the time, all your interactions will just become more and more of a flow, and they'll go off with a lot less hitches and a lot more signs and synchronicities, where people seem to start telling you stories and start giving you clues about things you had no idea about but seem to make sense to your life. And most of the time these people are oblivious they're even doing it. And that's the perfection of the flow and signs and synchronicities. And once they start, sometimes they just don't stop. And it's truly quite amazing to experience. It can be overwhelming, but it can also be overwhelming just understanding how much difference you can make in a conversation or an interaction, depending on whether you go into it open-minded like you do with a stranger because you have no previous concept, or whether you bring in past emotions and past interactions with someone you already know, and then noticing that that conversation goes down the same sort of tracks as it always does. Once you notice your own awareness, it's quite a change in responsibility, that you start to notice that you're responsible for everything that's happening. You can't just fob it off to someone else having a bad day, or that person's this way or that person's that way. It's all you. It's all how you approach the situation is what determines how the situation will go. And once you own that personal responsibility, you will start to grow, and you'll start to grow faster and faster the more you own it. And then as you realize how much control you actually have, not over your reality, but over how you interact and perceive everything, then it doesn't matter so much about what comes in and out of your reality, because it's all about your perception of what you learn and gain, or don't learn and lose. And perception will determine that every single time. So try and keep an open mind, go in with a clear mind, and just to focus on what's happening right now, and listening and talking precisely. And then that's how the energies just start to flow. Once you create momentum, it just stays there and you ease into it. And it's a lot more relaxing than thinking. Because when you're thinking, you're always trying to protect a position or think about what you need to say. But once you relax, the words that you need to say just flow, because the momentum's already been created, so the words are already there. Everything already exists. It's just tapping into the frequency they exist at.